Alright guys, today I'm going to show you how to build that the 20 round magazine for the HDR 50. Um, yeah, I got it all laid out here in front of you. These are all the parts you're going to need. So um, first of all, you're going to need your HDR. Um, you're also going to need one of these. It's a low profile riser rail. It's one of the kind of longer ones with the 3 bolts in it. This is actually a Leapers UTG one. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm using two of them, but one of them locks the handguard to the under rail on the HDR, and yeah, the other one here is just for looks, but you'll see why when we put it together. Um, so yeah, and also I got a Home Defense 24 tuning run barrel installed. And I also got 3 sniper extensions. Um, Based on what size handguard you get, that's going to determine how many of these you're going to need. And also how big you want your magazine as well. You can use just one and then, I don't know, you probably get away with, it would be over 10 shots, I could see it being. If you just went with one barrel, or depending on what you want to do. You can go all the way out too as well. You can go out and make a big sniper rifle setup with like 40 round magazine in it. And yeah, we're doing, in the old video I showed how to do the longer magazine. It was a 27 rounder and it did not have this feature in it like the HDP does. You had to load it in from the end, but anyways, if I remember, I'll get to that later. But yeah, so you're going to need a handguard, depending on whatever size. Same thing, tuning run barrel, or any other barrel you can think of, like the homemade ones I've shown, the brass ones. Also, you're going to need a length of copper tube. This is K&S engineered round brass tube, and it's 1732s, the outer diameter. And these are great for the 8.4 millimeter bearings. Or the 8 gram bearings go in there great. Pretty much any ammo will go in there, but especially for the mag tube. But if you're going to use it for a barrel, stick with the larger rounds. Okay, so yeah, you're going to need this riser rail. You're going to need a piece of brass pipe and the tuning run barrel and the handguard. Also, you're going to need a spring. I'm pretty sure I got this one from AliExpress, but it's the wire thickness is about, oh god, I ordered a bunch at once. It's either a 0.7 millimeter wire thickness or a 0.8. Could be a 6 as well, but either way, they don't matter. It's just one's a little bit stiffer than the other. Which is probably good for this setup, depending on how you drill out your magazine. But yeah, also, we got a threaded, it was just a hex bolt. It's a 1/2 inch diameter, so it fits perfectly in the tube. And if you notice, I got the spring, it's threaded perfectly around there. So that way the bolt is connected to the spring and not loose in there behind the ammo. So that way when your last shot gets pushed into the magazine and it keeps cycling, this won't go in the magazine, or any way it won't go in and lock it up. Because if that goes in the magazine after anyhow, it'll jam it. So, but plus the stick on here now, compared to the new design I had, you'll see I got there's a hole I got drilled in there. And that's I believe it's an M2. Metric 2. So, and that is for I just screw that in here. It's a little M2 bolt with a whatever head you want. That screws in there, and that's how I load it. But I'm gonna have a little button on there later. I'm gonna have a knob. But yeah, I'll show you how all that works. Yeah, this is just a foregrip decoration. This is just another decoration. This is a mock silencer. You can put a real one or a mock one, whatever you want on. Or you don't. It's not really needed, especially that. I just use it in the pictures for looks, but I would have it looking like this with just a barrel thread cap on in my normal setups. Yeah, so that goes with this over here. So yeah, basically this all this stuff here in front of you is what you're gonna need. Like that hex bowl is only like $1 something at Home Depot. The spring, I don't know. I think that was probably somewhere between $5 and $10 on AliExpress, or a local hardware store might have it. This here was, God, I think that was around $40. The Leapers one, UTG. It's got a nice look to it compared to a lot of them, but you can get them cheaper, I'd imagine, on Amazon. Probably around $19. I'm speaking Canadian too, guys, so this is all in CAD. So yeah, basically what you got to do is, here's the tube, for instance. This is the magazine tube. You'll see I got a cut like an HDP. Oh, I can't really see this camera. But yeah, obviously that's where you're going to load your balls. And then that's your cocking where that screw goes into when you're pulling the screw back to load it. Then you just put, the magazine holds 6 rounds, and you get another 14 in here. So it gives you 20 rounds for this magazine. Like I said, you can go further as you want, but you'll happen to notice I got another little piece of brass pipe right here. So if you, let's say, if you cut this hole too big, I don't really need it, but I like to use it anyway just for precaution. But yeah, this slides down, and it basically goes over top of the hole, so that way, and also your loading arm doesn't go down in here and get stuck on one of these sides, so you can just push that back. But most of the time it's pretty good. It goes pretty straight down, but sometimes your spring under tension can twist a little bit, so when your switch gets to here, it likes to go one direction, and you can either round the edges off more, but I wouldn't recommend doing that, because as you're loading it, if this hole's too big, your spring will come flying out, and then it jams up. And then you'll have to stick your finger over it or make one of these. But I just got one of those there as a precaution. As you can see, it's just a little extra piece of pipe, slides back and forth. But yeah, so I'll just slide it all the way down so it's covering the hole. And then that way the stick just travels in a straight line every time. So once you load all your balls up, 1, 2, 3, 4, once you put your 20th one in, you just flick this forward for the spring to engage it, and then you just pull that over. And then that's it. You just go about your business, set your marker on your wall, or wherever you keep it, on your bed, and then when you're ready to fire, you just click your on-off on. Yeah, and also this is what I had to do for the modification. So I had to Dremel all this ditch right out. Be careful here. You don't want to go all the way through in this area, because there's a mechanism in there that for this to catch on. So realistically, it's not catching on that plastic. It's catching on a little slot on the other side of here. So if that gets filed out, you're going to have to hold this every time, because if you try to put it up here, it'll just, that plastic's not really going to hold it. It'll just sling back every time. But yeah, be careful. I mean, even if you do, it's okay, because when you put your magazine in, you're just going to have to hold it out and then eject it and let it go when you're done. But yeah, so there, I'll put the mag in. And then you can kind of, here, I'll put a ball in so you can see it. And I mean, even if you just don't want to do all this, it makes a quick loading area. If you just got a little channel right here, then you can always load with the same mag right in there. And then just bang, bang. You just spin it with your hand, load the next one, 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 and then you're ready to fire. Instead of taking the mag out and reloading, you just keep a handful in your pocket. But yeah, anyways, you can see the ball straight down in there. That's where the pipe will come in there and butt up against. The steel ball will actually butt up against the other steel ball. But it's all good because when you're drilling out this magazine, that's another thing. I covered that in the last video, but for the new guys who didn't see it, I'll show you this one. What I did was I used, oh, where is it? I used a 50 cal reamer. Or sorry, a 12.7 half-inch reamer. This is a 5/8, but it looks like this. Oh, there it is. So here's my half-inch. Now, also, there's a thing in the last magazine I said, because I didn't have a follower, I was just using the spring in it, and I didn't have one of these guys on it. So I said that I made the extra slot back here to ram the last ball in. That's not an issue with this gun now. So the way I got this one built, it functions exactly like an HDP or a HDB 68. So you don't have that issue no more. Every ball gets loaded in just under the spring tension, because this only goes right to the very edge where it needs to now. So we're not worried about any spring, and it's pretty heavy too. So, but yeah, so just scratch that whole thing from before when I said in the last video, where you have to push it in to load the last one. That doesn't happen with this anymore. It functions perfectly now, like an HDP. But yeah. Anyway, here's back to the magazine. There's little nubs in there, right, for the balls. Like the 8.4 millimeter balls, you got to pretty much drill out. But what you don't want to do is drill the nubs at the very back. Like I just used this and did a hand turns and just spun in here. So don't go all the way to the point that this goes all the way through, or your balls are just going to end up rolling out the barrel on you if you point the barrel at the ground. You just want to take enough of it out and then just do a couple turns at a time, light pressure, spin it, and then test your ball, and then to see how far it goes in with just basically with spring pressure. So just lightly push it in. If it comes to a big halt and it's only halfway out, well, then you got to do a few more turns. And then just keep trying until the ball goes in and it holds snug just by the very end of the nub that you're not really drilling out, that's at the back. So you just want to let that part be able to catch the ball. And then that way you can hold the mag upside down still and it won't fall out. But, alright. I pretty much covered everything on this, but yeah, so I'll just go ahead and put it together. Yeah, I was gonna show you guys how to do that last magazine I did, the longer one, where you don't have to cut the slot in and do it that way. But I think I cut this piece off of that, so I ended up scrapping it. But yeah, pretty much you don't cut that out. You just cut a slot in here, a line, and then straight down, kind of like this, but the opposite way. And then you have like a pin, same thing with that sticks out of the bolt there, like that kind of idea, into like a slug, and then it just goes in and keeps everything, and then you push it down, and it keeps everything locked in. But that's after you load all your balls in. But yeah, that way it's not very effective unless you're going to use the long mags. But for this is ideal because you get quicker loads and you don't have to worry about everything opening up and gutting it and then loading it and then putting everything back together. This way is just quick and how it should be for a built-in style mag. But yeah, so first things first, we'll get this barrel in. This just screws on. It's threaded. I believe it's an M15 by 1 thread. This is a honed out tuning run and snipers. I got other ones that are still unhoned. And then I got brass barrels I use as well. And Jonathan Scott at Critical Situations has some new carbon barrels, I believe, coming out. So I'm going to check one of those out too, eventually. Yeah, okay, so we got this on. Now, we'll go to put the handguard on. This old handguard is from a Crossman DPMS. I don't know if you guys are familiar. You probably all are, but it's a BB air gun. Full automatic, SBR. And, yeah, I've modded it out here for another HDP build for a magazine that I had. And, yeah, the mag tube goes right underneath. It's just an HDP. The barrel would come out here, and then the mag tube used to extend out through there, or at least up to here, depending on the size of the build. So I was able to do a little bit more carving in here, and I got this to fit in, because last time I had it leaning out, and now it's actually built, and I cut it down a little bit further, and it stops, locks right in here, and I got a pin system that locks everything in. But yeah, let's get this on. And basically, you just take your low riser rail, and now we need our, this is a torque screw bit, so this is really strong and secure too. So a lot of people do their builds like this to put handguards on. On the HDP and the TAC carbine, it's got 2 rails, one on each side, so it's even more support. I mean, even after it's done, you can pick it up all day by the handguard, just sling it around, and it's fine. It's really stiff. Wasn't too sure on that when I seen them all, and then I finally tried it a long time ago, and I liked it. Oops, I put this on backwards. It really don't matter. I just don't like to see all the screws. I like to see the screws all on one side, and then those nice slot lines on one side. My bad. Yeah, also coming out in January, Jonathan Scott's Critical Situations is gonna be, he's gonna be making real small, short carbine kits where you take this shell off, the HDR shell off, and you just take the core and you add it into his carbine, and he's got the built-in magazine, a 17-round magazine installed for that. But check out his site, talk to him, and go over and have a look. And it's in the groups. He's posted it now, so it's safe to tell you about it. But anyways, now we'll put this tube together here. Oh, and also in the back here, I got a Home Defense 24 slug, one of his killer spikes, one of Florian's babies. And I just put a pin through it, and under the spring tension, it holds everything in place. So it's one of his killer spikes, the 50 cals. I took the spike out, and I drove this pin through it, so it locks everything together. The paint comes off this easy, but yeah, what can you do, right? I'm using it's like a multi-paint, spray paint. Anyways, so I don't have no more slugs. I don't put no slugs in here anymore. No nothing. It's just clean end of the spring. Just goes all the way down, and it locks up into against that slug. And yeah, as you can see again, that spring is basically like threaded onto this. Because if not, you would have to figure out another way to attach this, because if that spring is higher than the threads, it won't run in here. It'll jam right up. Yeah. See, it's moving nice. Oh, let me just find where the thread is. And then I'll take that screw. I threaded that with an M2, and then I'm gonna have like a proper knob button on here. But if you can see, once it's all put together and assembled, there's the end of that bolt. It's like rounded inwards. Oh, come on, stupid camera. Hold on. There we go. You can see it's kind of cupped inwards, so it holds the ball. It's nice to travel with the ball. But yeah, so here we have it now. It just kind of go all the way back and then down. And see, it's locked in place. It's not going to be like this. I'm going to come up with a nice knob here that matches. But yeah, so you just back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. Works great. This is the same kind of system I use for the HDB extended magazine, the breech fed magazine. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and get this in the carbine here. It's such a nice fit in there. I got it in here to the point right now where it's kind of locked in. And then, like once you put the actual magazine in here, there. All right, so we got this in here. Now the final thing to do, just to secure it so it doesn't move. That way it's nice and firm in place. I cut a slot through here. I cut a slot right through this part, and then down through here as well. I have a slot coming up through here, and then I also have one going down into this section. But when I tied it that way, it kind of pulled the pipe down and misaligned it. Like right now, it's almost aligned perfectly. But when you put this zip tie in, it's locked there, solid. This is a really heavy duty, thick one. And by the way I've cut the holes in there, so if you can see through, and then there's another one under there. It's actually under the surface of the pipe, so I can get really good snug pull down with it. And yeah, I'll start it over on this side and I'll come through. I start on the back side underneath. And then you can see where the marking is. That's where I'm going to be going with it. There's other ways to do this. This is just a temporary one now. I'll come up with a better solution by locking it in place down in here. But I like to keep this zip tie in here because it makes me comfortable that that's never going to pop out or shift. Like it's just the way you cut this ditch will define how that's going to sit in here. Like remember, you're doing all this by hand, so you know what I mean? You just take your time and start slowly and just zigzag slowly down the channel. If you go too fast and stuff like that and throw the channel off, or it's too deep and shit, and it's not going to sit right in here. Any kind of wiggling or jerking motion this has, and it'll throw you off. So, but once it's locked in there and in here, and then you have this zip tie down, it ain't going nowhere. And here's the tool I use to do it. It's just a simple Dremel, and it's one of the larger grinding discs. But you can see there's all kinds of burnt plastic on it and shit. I don't recommend using this as high speed. Go down to like half speed, and if you stay in the same area like too long, like it'll melt the plastic. So just kind of jerk back and forth and carve yourself a nice ditch. Just kind of like straight up like that, and work your way down. Just take your time. Even draw a line if you have to. But if you got steady hands, you know you're good. If not, just take your time and go slow. You'll get it. So yeah, we'll just go back up through the zip tie here. Oh, pain in the ass. Are you kidding me? There we go. There, and I can see it pulling it right into alignment as I do that. Alrighty. Now, you just take these nail clippers and snip that little edge off. And before you do this, I recommend painting that zip tie the same matte black that is this. Otherwise, it stands out with that shine. I forgot to do that. I'll just block it off with some tape and then spray it. Or I'll just cut it off and re-put another one. But yeah, it takes that shine out of the zip tie and it looks more natural. But yeah, now you can decorate it any way you like. And then you see, we got our loading. That screw's a bit long. I'm going to shorten that and put a nice round knob. You won't even notice that again. But yep, and then it goes all the way down. There's where you load your balls. And that's your locking port. Like I said, I'm going to also pin this inside. I have another idea to go right through this cap and into the other side of the carbine, and it'll lock everything in place. And even under pressure, you could never spin this or just rotate it. But if it does rotate a little side to side, it doesn't hurt because that zip tie there is keeping it locked, pressed right up against where it needs to be. Like, I've shot this multiple times, and I've made a video and I shot it like 17 rounds out of it. And yeah, it functions really well. But keep an eye out for that nice little mini carbine Jonathan Scott's building. He already done the prototype and posted it on Facebook, and I'm sure he'll probably have upgrades. I'm sure he'll incorporate it in other kits. It's pretty sweet. He's naming the magazine after me. Thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, guys, I promised you I'd show you a video about this, and here it is. You guys go decorate it any way you want. If you're wondering what this is in the back, this is the critical situations. It's I forget. It's the max volume HPA adapter. It's all one piece too, so less chance of getting any little minor O-ring leaks. And it'll give you an extra chamber in here of air. So you got the chamber, this normal DF chamber, that extra volume. You got all the volume down here, and then you got the extra volume all in here between the edge of the threads and then to here. So that'll give you a nice little boost. I'm going to do a comparison test with the old style ones and the new style ones. I'm a bit slow because of my neighbors, so it's hard, man. In the summer they were more gone and stuff, and they're more around now. It's colder, but Yeah, this is the twisty ASA on off. And you can go down here if you want, or up there, or you can go both at the same time. You can go CO2 HPA, you can mix. Don't matter, it'll shoot it. And yeah, just decorate it. And see, you pick the thing up just by the handguard, it's solid. And also, just put a little rail on wherever you want it, anywhere. Here's a little bolt I got for it. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, this suppressor, this one's not even a threaded. This just goes on and it screws in from here. There. Just like that. Now if you unscrew it, the cap will be stuck in it. It'll come off. But yeah, guys, any questions, go ahead. Join the group. If you guys want to get a hold of me or ask things or need help, I'm more accessible there in the Facebook group. It's the same name as my YouTube channel name. So if you're ever curious, go check us out over there. Lots of great modders all over the world, people. We have a really great group. There's no bullshit. Yeah, come in, check us out. You guys stay safe and take care and have fun.